think speaking after Sherrod Duncan, the honorable member, I have the privilege of saying the opposition has just fallen apart. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, as I was listening to Mr. Duncan, I was contemplating what is it that I have to say during the course of this debate. So I said a silent prayer. And I was told just moments ago, fear not, the PPP is here to stay. Fear not, the PPP is here to stay. Mr. Chairman, over the last few days, we have heard quite a lot of arguments on this budget. But I think that when I listen to what has transpired on the opposite side of this House, their arguments are filled with paradoxes. Just now, Mr. Sherrod Duncan Honorable Member Sherrod Duncan said that he spoke out against cash grants, but at the same time was reading or quoting this in support of cash grants. Many of his comrades on the other side wanted to share the oil money out too. And then they spoke out against the Dutch disease. So I don't understand how to configure the context of their criticism of budget 2023. But I could tell you that this budget, a lot of hard work went into. A lot of hard work. Unfortunately, you didn't want to participate in the preparation of this budget. But what we have done over thousands of hours, thousands of meetings, led by His Excellency the President, we have gone to practically every single village of this country, across every single demographic, and we've gotten the support of every single person, and in some cases, some of you as well. And I'll tell you why in a few moments, why some of you support this budget, but publicly you are disagreeing because of your, you don't understand the nuances of the budget. So yes, fair indeed. They're fair to speak publicly against the Little League values of their leader. So, Mr. Chairman, when this budget was coined, we did a lot of hard work. And the context of this budget, the policy framework of this budget, rests solidly on a One Guyana platform, irrespective of the pernicious language of members of the opposition on race baiting, against poor people, their vicious attacks against Amerindian development. We are going to steadfastly work on developing this country. And that is why our prayer, and my prayer especially, I've been guided, fear not, the PPPC is here to stay. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, the budget encapsulates a number of things. It is pro-poor, always pro-poor. Since 1946, when we started to become an entity and take life to this point, we have always been a pro-poor organization. Our values, our guiding principles have always been pro-poor. So when we spend money for poor people in villages. That is what we do. And most of this budget will be spent in villages across Guyana, and including the wards of the different municipalities across this entire country. Listening intently to the criticisms of the AP and UFC, especially some of the regionally based MPs, saying that nothing is there for regional development. Outside of the sectoral ministries, the 10 regions of Guyana will spend in excess of $68 billion. $68 billion. More than $33 billion will go towards regional health. More than $13 billion will go towards regional education. And more than $17 billion will go towards regional agriculture. Who are the people that live in these communities? More than $35 billion will go towards Amerindian development across the budget. Who live in these areas? But they will never be able to stand and listen. But I'll quote from our good friend, a good friend of democracy, the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves. Take your licks like a man. Take your licks like a man. But of course, they'll be unable to stand the truth, because this is what we stand for. We stand for speaking the truth. So when this budget was designed, Mr. Speaker, it wasn't just designed with the paradoxes of the APNU-AFC. We actually listened to people. We spent a lot of time across many hours, like I said, day and night, in treacherous circumstances in many cases, just so that we can get the values of our people in budget 2023. It is, for me, as Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, I've had the honor over the last 2.5, going to 3 years, serving people across this country. And a lot of these issues that are catered for, that are addressed in this budget, are issues that are alive. But the opposition will not understand that, because they're never amongst people. They're never there listening to anyone. They're never, because the budget does not speak to personal aggrandizement. And as I speak of personal aggrandizement, Mr. Speaker, you know, there is this famous Jamaican reggae artist called Popcorn. And Popcorn said, numbers don't lie. But I know they're listening to me. And they have, Mr. Speaker, staff of the government that sit on the other side. They claim that this budget doesn't help public servants, the working class, poor people. But they will not tell you that the Secretary General of the Guyana Teachers Union, a non-qualified mistress or Mrs., in addition to a parliamentary stipend, nearly $250,000 a month, also earns as a non-qualified teacher an additional $213,000 per month. They wouldn't tell you. They wouldn't tell you. There's another teacher that spoke about the development on the East Coast in Haslington Grove, NDC. Earns again nearly $250,000 a month in this parliament, but also earns as an HM over $282,000 per month at one of our nursery schools in Georgetown. And then there's another one that teaches at St. Joseph's High School. Earns again here over nearly $250,000 a month. And then as a teacher at St. Joseph's High, earn $243,000 per month additionally. Then there is one from Linden of the famous virtual pig farm. In addition to the salary here, earns again over $200,000 per month, being one of the absent teachers at the Christianburg Secondary School, I think, New Silver City, sorry, Honorable Minister of Education. And then there's one from Region 1 who claims that ministers don't go out. But we've always been out in Region 1, and we've never seen him out, Honorable Ramjatan. We've never seen him out. The president was there just a few weeks ago. A massive crowd, the biggest crowd ever in Region 1 in terms of an outreach. The the MP wasn't there. But you know what? He earns $250,000 nearly per month here in his parliament, and an additional nearly $233,000 per month as an absent teacher in Region 1. Again, depriving hinterland and especially Amerindian children. And then there is another one that comes from Region 6, who is the Chief Schools Welfare Officer in Region 6. Earns nearly $250,000 per month in the parliament. And again, they will come and regale us about their views on working class people, but also earn nearly $240,000 per month as a member of the regional administration of Region 6. So, Mr. Chairman, these are people on the other side who personally benefit. And then they have, all of them have a duty-free that I believe that many of them may have already sold for millions of dollars. More than $10 million.
But Honorable Minister, that is imputing, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, so, Mr. Chairman, thanks for the guidance. But also, there are others who criticize us about the friends and family budget. There are members of parliament in the opposition. When they were in government, one of them spoke yesterday, earned more than $80 million in Region 7 on contracts. More than $80 million on contracts. And came here and spoke about friends and family. There's another one, and no school was built, indeed. And yet he built them. Then there is another one, a very senior member of the PNC, who always come here and say some of the most demeaning things towards the leadership of the People's Progressive Party Civic in Region 2. And people closely associated to them when they were running the Public Works Department of the region earned over $53 million in 2019. Those are the kinds of people that poor people out there must know who are in the opposition. They are the friends and family business, what they're doing. And then, of course, Mr. Chairman, if you permit me, in the rumor mill of the country, there are some who has multi-million-dollar US bank accounts, like a Capital One bank. I don't know, and it is purported that they've been selling a certain type of license, very coveted license in this country. And then there is another one, you know, the last government was a government of licenses, because there's another one who has always been, Kwame referred to them, Mr. Speaker, in whose account one of the biggest companies in Guyana is reputed to have put tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is true.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. They're going to speak tomorrow, but I'm getting under Ramjitan's skin, Honorable Member. And then, Mr. Speaker, they claim and they want to question our accountability. They want to question our good governance. We are practicing good governance. That's why we in government. That is why we in government. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, for 3 years, between 2015 and 2018, they crushed this country. They crushed the economy of Guyana. And for 2 years after, 2018 to 2020, they imposed themselves above the constitution of our country. And for 5 months, Mr. Speaker, they rigged elections. Unfortunately for them, they rigged themselves out of government. Because you know why? Because numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. And you know, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we are so happy for technology because all of these things that we are speaking about, they are recorded, and the PNC, the AP and UFC, they are globally known. They are a pariah to the people of Guyana. They are a pariah to the Caribbean. They have no credibility to come even in the parliament, Mr. Speaker, to speak about good governance. But we are going to work for the people of Guyana. That's a commitment of President Ali. That is a commitment written in the manifesto of the People's Progressive Party Civic. We are going to build this country with or without your pernicious language. Mr. Speaker, in 2021, I went to Mocha, as they've been speaking so eloquently and fluidly about Mocha.
Regular.
Well, yeah, regularly too, huh? So when I went there, Mr. Speaker, I was invited by the residents of Mocha, and I was also invited by members of the farmers group. So we had this meeting. The room, the building was jam-packed with people, spilled over to the outside on the
Road, still on the road.
Mr. Speaker, and whilst we were confabulating, I recall that there were some projects done during the AP and UFC period, approximating to about $10 million in 4 villages: Mocha, Betavawacting, Buxton, and Ithaca. So I've had the privilege of going to all 4 of those villages during the course of our government. So when I went to Mocha, we started to inquire about this agricultural project. And they speak about having the heart and the concerns of people of Mocha. They spent $500 million. And as I stand before you, Mr. Speaker, there is no evidence, absolutely no evidence, of even a single plant, right? Not a pak choy, as my colleague Joe Hamilton said, Honorable Member. And you know what? Not the people of Mocha benefited. They gave a contractor from Region 2 $500 million to come to Mocha to dig drains. That is what they did. And now they are speaking about on behalf of the people of Mocha. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? Honorable Member Nemo Flubes was in the meeting, and she didn't get up to say a word to defend her regime. As a matter of fact, when I was leaving, I saw this woman, her head fully wrapped, walking up and down like she crazy. Honorable Member, well,
Two things. I was very stern on the word giving awards. And then secondly, I think crazy might be unparliamentary.
okay, mentally unsound. Mr. Chairman, and then, you know what, Mr. Chairman? I went to BV, the Vice President, based on some complaints residents made to him last year, sent me to BV. Just beyond the mid of last year. Again, BV Primary School, we had a meeting, scores of people. And as we were again speaking to each other, discussing on the development of BV, 2 things we raised, because members of the public in BV raised with the Vice President this issue of them selling out the lands of the people of BV. If it was not for the Vice President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Barajagdio, this country would not have known that the PNC-run NDC of BV was selling out the lands of the people of BV.
What?
It-
Was it ancestral?
right? Yeah, it wasn't ancestral lands then.
Was it ancestral?
But they had already signed agreements, collected monies into their bank account. Thank God for Barajagdio, the people of BV are saved. And you know what too, Mr. Speaker? Another 500 million from the last government was put into an agricultural project in BV. And you know what the residents said? They said, Minister Nigel, tomorrow morning I want you to accompany us to BV back down. Nothing was done. $500 million, where is it? And you go to Ithaca, it's the same thing. Prime Minister led a delegation to Buxton. Same thing. 10 million US dollars, $2 billion. Mr. And this is the real Prime Minister too, and the real Brigadier. In flesh, not in a cardboard. So, Mr. Speaker, when we speak of friends and family, when we speak of good governance, when we speak of transparency and accountability, when we speak of development in all villages of this country, we speak on the platform laid by Cherry Jagan, continued by Sam Hines, by Janet Jagan, Bharat Jagdeo, Donald Ramatar, and now Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali. This is not a stopgap budget. This has been in the making for decades. And we're going to get better next year. And we're going to get bigger next year. And you know the only thing that's getting smaller is the opposition to the PPP. That is what is getting smaller. The opposition, well, sorry, there are two things getting smaller. AFC also is getting smaller. Right? AFC is getting smaller. So, Mr. Speaker, we are moving where the people would like us. This is a budget that had national consultation. This is a budget that is going to build, repair, extend 30 schools outside of Georgetown during the course of 2023. This is a budget that will extend more than 13 dorms in our country, or repair or reconstruct. This is a budget outside of the 7 hospitals, the 6 regional hospitals, and the maternity and pediatric national hospital, all of international standard, will also intervene on more than 38 health facilities in the regions of our country. Mr. Speaker, we are spending, like I said, in addition to what the sector agencies are spending, more than 33.5 billion on regional health. Mr. Speaker, you can go to any facility across this country, any health facility, a health post, a health center, a cottage hospital, a district hospital, a regional hospital, or the Georgetown Public Hospital, the National Research Facility. And we have adequate drugs and medical supplies. Quite unlike 3 years ago, when most of the facilities were either empty or stocked with expired drugs. And naturally, we know how those were acquired. One of the reasons why they are so afraid of discussion of the Auditor General's report is because a lot of the mismanagement, the financial mismanagement, the irregularities occurred during that period. There is one of them from Region 9, an honorable member, who has always been coming here and making some very baseless statements. But I want to tell the people of Guyana, and particularly the Amerindian people of Guyana, that person, during the course of APNU AFC, just in Region 9, more than $165 million of grant support that was supposed to go to small business people and small households in Region 9 did not get to those people. I don't know if it stopped where that person was. But I can tell you also that the records will show that a member of that person's family earned millions of dollars from that grant. Similar to the barbershop, the multi-million-dollar barbershop. But you know, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, they like to come here and always song the important, you know, in Borabis, in number 7 village, you know, we call them like, you know, they want to come and song important, highty-tighty. No. We will expose them. And the people of this country must know that APNU AFC, whether by Norton or by Ramjatan, honorable members, will not be allowed to rewrite the history of this country. We will not allow them to rewrite the history of this country because Popcorn said numbers don't lie. We are going to tell people every single day. That is why they didn't come here to debate the budget. You notice they were speaking glibly about everything else but the budget. Because they know the pain that Guyanese people went through. They know how people suffered for 5 years. And I know that people still have challenges. The Minister of Finance knows that. The members of the cabinet know that. The Vice President, the Prime Minister, the President, they all know that. That is why so much money is going to address these concerns. Concerns that affect the daily lives of people. So there is nothing wrong with us giving cash grant to anyone. Because if something was wrong, Norton, honorable member, Ramjatan, honorable member, they would have all refused the cash grant. But we have evidence that they all signed for it. They all signed for it.
Including David Granger.
Including, yes, they all signed for it. So don't come here and preach about something that you are guilty of. You know, you're collecting and you still come in and speak out against it. So, but you know, they have done so much damage to this country. But there is this disease. I don't know if the Minister of Health can configure a medication to treat this disease. It is called plausible deniability. That is how APNU AFC used to govern. And the problems that this country has, structural damage that they cause to national psyche, to the legal system, especially the Constitution, to the daily lives of people, this budget is addressing some of those things. But we have a far way to go to addressing all of the things. We are dealing with all of these, Mr. Speaker. And so, when Mr. Ramjatan spoke a few days ago about retrenching, well, he used a very fancy term. It's called right-sizing. For the people of Region 6 and Region 5, where I come from, and for those of us who have had the honor and dignity of sharing a history with sugar workers, Ramjatan's right-sizing means they knock off your family. They knock off your family. And it hurt me because my grandparents, they either were shovel gang or cane cutter. And to see him look so excited to say that they were right-sizing, they were happy to say that they were knocking off sugar workers. Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, how can people countenance that kind of hypocrisy? But you know what?
That's why the people right-size them.
Exactly. The people have right-sized them. And so And tomorrow they are going to, and later on they are going to come and speak about all of the things that they've done. They are going to come and speak about all of the things that they've done. When they spoke here over the last few days, not a single one of them could provide a shred of evidence. Mr. Jordan, the honorable member from Lovely Last Village, West Coast, Berbice, spoke about what is happening in Region 5, that 135 streets are being done in Region 5. But he didn't say for 5 years. The first thing they did in Region 5 in 2015 was to take away the street lights in Region 5. From Bath Settlement, from Bush Lot, from Cotton Tree, from Blairmont. They took them away. But they left the ones in Hopetown and Belladrum and elsewhere, and took the ones from Bath, Bush Lot, Cotton Tree, and Blairmont and Linden. That is where they took them. They're not going to come here and say that. And you know what too, Mr. Speaker? He spoke again about the roads, that in number 7 village, where I am from, that there are a few roads that are going to be done this year. Number 7 village is the only constituency in the Bel Air Woodlands NDC that the People's Progressive Party Civic won. Between 2015 and August 2020, August 1st, not even one brick in number 7 village. I left that village at 10 years old, and we used to walk with our big toes sunk on the dams. Mr. Speaker, now these streets are being built. But you know what he didn't say? That in Lovely Lass, the streets were done. He didn't say that. He also said that we're building streets in Blairmont. In the year 2019, a street of 8.5 million, a meager 8.5 million, was spent in Blairmont. He didn't say, and he said we're building in Shieldstown. A meager, people of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. APNU spent just over $5 million on the people of Shieldstown. You know why? Because they vote People's Progressive Party Civic.
To shield you from an incomplete presentation, I'd have to ask someone move an extension to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask that my honourable colleague be given more time to conclude his very informative presentation.
Thank you, Minister Teixeira. Honorable Minister Dharamlall, you have 5 minutes to conclude.
Thank
your
you.
presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And then they spoke of Bath Settlement. Mr. Speaker, Bath Settlement is the biggest village in West Berbice, in Region 5. Thousands of people. Thousands of supporters of the People's Progressive Party Civic. Hundreds of streets. Only 10 are being done this year. But you know what? In 2019, they spent $14.7 million on part of the street in Bath Settlement, West Coast, Berbice. And they come here and speak to us about what we are doing for One Guyana. Every single village of this country, has seen attention from every budget of the People's Progressive Party Civic, and since President Ali has been the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Every single village. And then they speak out against the employment program. But we are employing people as a commitment. They were right-sizing people, they were knocking off people. That is their legacy. So it must hurt them. So, Mr. Chairman, we have a lot of work to do. We got to build these regions. There will be more monies going into our local democratic organs. Every single region this year received more money than last year, and a lot more than 2019, 2018, and the years of the AP and UFC, including 6211, where the chairs of the regions. As a matter of fact, Region 7 has $60 million this year in 6211, and Region 10 has $47 million, much more than Region 2, Region 3, Region 5, and almost as Region 6 and Region 9 that the People's Progressive Party Civic won. So, I don't know what they didn't read the budget. I don't know how they represent people. They didn't read the budget. So, Mr. Speaker, Also, we're going to be spending a lot of money on community infrastructure because we have to build this country to take it forward. We have to remove garbage. We have to make sure that we keep the place clean. I know they don't come out and support the removal of garbage, but with or without the AP and UFC, we are going to get the place clean. We are going to clean our drains, we are going to build our roads, and our communities are going to look different. Our country has to be modern. That is the type of country President Ali wants, not a country with a cardboard president. We have a president that people touch, they feel, they speak to, that he responds to on a daily basis. Mr. Speaker, they speak about the elderly, and they speak about what they have done, what we should do more for elderly people and for students. But again, my colleagues have already said what they have done, or what they couldn't do, or what they refuse to do for children. Imagine, children of this country. Imagine old people of this country. The elderly people, in 2.5 years, we have increased pension by more than 60%. More than 60%. Much more than they did in the 5-year period. So, moving forward, I believe that the people of Guyana, they understand, they know much better than what the 31 in the opposition have been saying. We continue to look forward to their support. They know that they have a government that is working for them, a government that is always going to be there alongside them. We also have a country that has profile now. Everywhere someone wants to speak to President Ali, everywhere Utah is arranging meetings around this world, because why? Guyana has image now. Guyana has image now. We are now competing on the global stage. We couldn't do that 3 years ago. The only thing we were known for 3 years ago on the global stage is rigged elections. We have a democracy now, and we will continue to work with our people to build this country. More tractors are going to go to the local democratic organs. City Council is going to get more money, as we will do to all the municipal councils in the country. As a matter of fact, at the end of last year, when we were balancing the books at City Council, Honorable Minister of Finance, $216 million they have from this government waiting to be spent at City Hall. The City Hall, we will rebuild it. It's an historic structure. It is one of the landmarks of our country. They couldn't do it, we will do it. The things that they couldn't do and that they are now casting shadows on, we are going to make them reality. So, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, 17,099 staff compared to 12,715 when APNU was in power. That is employment. Thousands of people more employed, plus 11,000 part-time workers, and thousands more are going to be employed during the course of the next few weeks. Mr. Speaker, the vision of President Ali, the commitment of our manifesto, we are working for the people of Guyana. And I want to say once again to the people of Guyana, fear not, the People's Progressive Party Civic is here to stay. Thank you very much.